Well, Ralph, Henny Youngman, you remember that old
Henny
comedian?
Youngman.
Yeah, he used to tell a story about how thieves broke into his apartment and stole all of his wife's credit cards. But he said months later he still hasn't reported it because the burglars are spending less. And, something's going on. The same thing is going on here in Congress. You know those little plastic cards that members of the House have, and when they vote on this bill to spend $100 billion or whatever, they just stick their charge card in there, take it out, vote aye, and $100 billion is gone like that. And that was the issue today, late yesterday, in the Senate, when Tom Coburn, who has put holds on something like 80 different spending bills, and what the Democratic leader, Reid, did was cobble these all together in one big omnibus spending bill and try to get cloture. And the Republicans stuck together. They couldn't get cloture. I think they fell 8 votes short. And they couldn't get cloture. They fell 8 votes short. And Coburn and the Republicans saved the American taxpayer yesterday.
Proving
billions of dollars. Proving that issue plays for them, and they're back on track.
Yes. Proving that Republicans are best in the minority, blocking the big spending Democrats.
And not spending.
But once they get in power, it seems they become big spending Democrats. Is that your point?
Well,
I don't think that was your point.
It wasn't my point. My point is they got the message and they're back on track.
Yeah.
And that was a good day for the Republicans, and with the exception, I think, of 3 renegades.
You want to name them?
Well, I think they can name them. Let's see. They were Coleman of Minnesota, Smith of Oregon, and Warner of Virginia. So they broke ranks. Well, the voters might have something to say about them.
John is not running.
John Warner is not running.
John is retired.
But Coleman and Smith, of course, are running.
Yeah.
But, all this takes place against the backdrop of a report that came out yesterday that said the deficit for this year is $389 billion. And next year it's expected to be $482 billion.
What's the problem with having a deficit? Well, I mean, Jack Kemp used to say deficits don't matter as long as people are happy and taxes are low. Well, I mean, that was, in his mind, that was the supply side creed. Now, that wasn't in Craig Roberts' mind. He believed that controlling spending was part of one of the legs of supply side economics. How do you see it, Don?
Well, I've not been one of these bean counters who say the deficit is everything. I'm more concerned with growth.
Why did you just bring it up?
Well, because it was part of the Coburn story. And, I think we can't just turn this over to our children, our grandchildren to pay it off. Somebody's going to have to pay it off. And I think it does affect the economy in one way or another. Certainly borrowing has huge interest costs that take a bigger chunk out of the budget.
Yeah. So when the government borrows, what does it do to private borrowers?
Well, I don't know what we do about them, but I'm all for them.
Crowds them out, and if corporations and businesses can't borrow, they can't expand and create jobs. And if they don't create jobs, the economy goes to heck.
Right. The biggest part of this deficit, I'll tell you, is a slow economy. That is the biggest chunk. And you get the economy going again, revenues are going to flow back in. It's going to, as it was doing earlier, it's going to slash this deficit. Also, about $130 or $150 billion of this big number I just mentioned went to you and to me and millions of other Americans in that tax rebate. I guess you cashed your check, you didn't turn it back to the government?
My wife and I keep looking for that check.
Really?
We may be the only 2 Americans who didn't get the check. I'm just wondering if there are other call me someone if you haven't gotten your check. I want to know. Maybe there are other people like me. Did you get yours?
Well, I got mine, and I hate to say this. Yours came to my mailbox by mistake last week.
And you forgot to tell me.
It's in the mail.
It's in the mail?
Yes.
Right. Mailbox, as in your mailbox.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting deeper into the red.
Yeah,
and people like Tom Coburn are needed. We need about another 50 of him in the Senate, and we could change the fiscal situation in this country.
Would make 51 conservative senators out of 100.
It's going to get worse next year.
That would be a bare majority.
Yes, well, it's going to get worse next year, and good for the Democrats. They're probably going to get 4 to 6 more senators. So if you don't like the spending now, wait till next year.
Uh-oh. The alternative could be what? A Republican spending Senate?
Put your money in your mattress.
Okay.
Thanks, Ralph.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks, fellas.